Welcome to the Intercourse Show. I'm your host, Mr. B. Today we have a very exciting show for you. We are discussing Kevin Samuels making comparison between a Rachet Stripper or Rachet Nurse. He's telling men to steer clear of both of these women. Now, haven't seen this clip, so we'll watch it together and I'll give my feedback. So without any further ado, let's jump ahead and see what he has to say.
Ladies, hear me and hear me well. If you're hoeing, you can't be a housewife. There's this, can I go from OnlyFans to squaring up? No. And just because you can find one or two anecdotal cases, once a hoe, always a hoe.
It's a fact.
You know where I'm getting this from? From the kind of men you ladies say you want. Once a hoe, always a hoe. No vice president of mergers and acquisition wants to date center stage Candy. They don't want to do that. No guy who's the director of logistics wants to be dealing with the woman who was the Thursday girl at the men's club. The guy don't want to be like, I remember her. She was at the bachelor party. You got to understand that these men, you're going to be a representation. You know how messed up it can be to bring a former hoe into a company function? Now, this is coming from a guy who took a high-end escort to a company party, but she was a high-end escort. And I was playing the game, and it turned out great for me. But that's not a hoe. That's a high-end escort. A hoe is something that I can go to any club and see your ass. If I can't screw you on the first night, but I can go to Magic City and see your innards for $20, what the hell you think you're holding out for? Think about it. I'm going to make you wait for 90 days. Chick, I see you on Mondays at Magic City. I've seen your birth canal. There it is. If people don't know your face, but then you turn around and spread your ass, and they're like, "Oh, Megan." Somebody wants to marry a hoe, ladies. I don't care how fine a hoe you are. You're a hoe.
Okay, got to stop right here and got to shed some light on what he's saying. Look, a lot of what he's saying is 100% true. This guy gets a lot of flack, and I think he's very misunderstood. I think women do have to carry themselves a little differently. And what he's saying is, if you don't want to be perceived as a hoe, then there's certain ways you should carry yourself that does not leave people with that impression. And his point is, not to even invite that impression of you in the first place. Carry yourself in a manner that is suitable of a lady, and fitting for a lady. And so there's certain things you shouldn't, project upon yourself if that's not an accurate depiction of who you are. So that's essentially what I think he's saying. At least the nuggets you can extract from that.
You know how many women in porn have tried to square up? There are anecdotal, but you talk about percentages. What percentage of women can go from being an OnlyFans girl, a stripper, or a average escort and get married? The percentages are low. High-end escorts, completely different thing. Because high-end escorts are for a select clientele. Most people don't even know these women are call girls. I'm going to tell you, I know escorts when I see them. Because high-end escorts walk around in, I don't even know how to pronounce these shoes, but I know when I see them. They walk around in Valentinos and Giuseppe's, and we're talking about shoes at like 2,000. Oh, I don't know. I know them when I see them. You know. One became the first lady. No, motherfucker. No, motherfucker. This is a lie. This is you dumbass right here. You dumbass right here. You're not lying, you dumb son of a bitch. What's the percentage chances of that? That's what I thought. Wouldn't bring you ain't gonna call me a lie, but you're too pussy to join the trap.
Mm.
You think that one woman, how many have become first ladies? That's what's wrong with some of you dumbass young boys. You think because you can see, ooh, you think you could have a former hoe as the first lady. That, you know what happened? There's a lot of these young dudes that was raised by their mama. Some of you dudes, you got that need to be right from your mama. Shut up. Don't even know what the hell you talking about.
I want to call your attention to an earth-shattering change that's happening in our society that I know you're aware of. AI.
Okay, you see he went off on that. Somebody had something slick to say about the first lady being a quote-unquote hoe. Now, I think this was back in 2020 sometime, or maybe even 2021. I mean, if it was before that, I think Trump may have been into office, and there's some people who say slick stuff like that. I think his point is far greater than that. What he's saying is most respectable men understand optics. They understand the notion that the woman that they choose is an extension of their reputation. So if they choose a woman who's wild, promiscuous, it looks negatively upon them, and it takes away from who they are. If they choose a woman who is reserved, well presented, and adds an area of mystique to their esteem, then it helps them in terms of how the world and the public perceives them. So I'll give you an example. Barack Obama did not choose Jada Pinkett as his wife. Now, don't get me wrong, Jada Pinkett's a very beautiful lady. You know, any man would want to stand next to Jada Pinkett. But in terms of character and how she carries herself and what she's known for, it doesn't add. She's not in the headlines. She's not, you know what I'm saying? She represents herself as a respectable black woman. The mystique and the respect is bestowed upon Obama for the type of woman he chose to stand next to him. So that plays a major part versus if you are a major person and you choose a stripper or a former porn star, like there was a guy, an NBA star. We did a show on this some weeks ago. I think his name was Smith. But he's a former NBA star, and he chose a wife who was a former stripper. And next thing you know, she's doing OnlyFans, didn't tell him about it. He's finding out on social media. Next thing you know, she's on camera on show, giving him a massage. And it's just a complete disrespect to the man's image. So those are a contrast of what's being talked about here. And his point is, you can't just have a woman who's got a checkered past be at the top levels of government like that, because there's so much scrutiny that happens on the candidate as well as their family. So if that lady was not upright, if she had a lot of skeletons in the closet, most of the time that would have been exposed through the campaign, and it would have been exposed by the opponents of the person who was running for office. So I think that's why he, got busy and checked this young man for that ignorant comment.
I'm just saying, I just think it's crazy that some dudes like, well, one married the president. She took nude photographs.
Yeah, you talking about Melania.
You ever hear anybody say, yeah, man, I used to bang her. Yeah, she was on center stage at Sugars. Some men lack knowledge. I don't mind people lacking knowledge. I don't mind people lacking knowledge. I don't mind people not knowing. What I mind is somebody that lacks knowledge, and then they're going to start. See, he said, I lied. So when you're going to challenge me, you better know what the fuck you talking about. That's when you start. You can be wrong. If I'm wrong, but there's a difference. Mm-hmm. And let's just say for the sake of our Skid Row, let's say she was the biggest hoe in the country. What's the percentage? What's the percentage, guys? What's the percentage? Would you tell your daughter, yeah, honey, go off and run off and be an OnlyFans girl? That's the sure path to success.
Nope, I wouldn't.
Ladies, like in dominoes, all money ain't good money. Don't chase that short money. Short money get you screwed up. Think about what's her name, Vanessa Williams. You know, back in the 80s, she lost a lot because she did that penthouse spread. The kind of men you ladies don't want that men that don't the kind of ladies that you the kind of men that you ladies want. The men that you ladies want, they don't want their women to be passed around. That's just what it comes down to. Hello, how are you?
I'm good. How you doing?
I am well. All right. So how old are you?
36.
36. Okay. What are we talking about today? I'm talking about overestimating values or hoes the housewife. Or did you have a question?
I don't have a question. I was just saying, I know some men that are like, oh, they love escorts, they love strippers, and they go for those type of women. That's weird to me. So no, it's just weird. Why? That's where the confusion comes into play. Also, it's like
You know men, but what do these men earn and what do they do?
just like regular like fixing air conditioners and stuff like
Okay.
that. And,
I'm making the distinction about men who are making over $100,000 a year.
oh, okay.
So
Now,
that's we're talking about the higher income men.
mm-hmm.
So what are you saying? You see women leave the club and get married?
Yes, to men that yes I have, but I'm not saying I'm not sticking up for them. I'm agreeing with you also. You know,
Well, I will say that, you know, like I said, a lot of women ask, can you go from being a hoe to a housewife? Um, Hoeing is going to be a hard one. Uh, but did they get married or are they just together?
they were just together.
There's a difference. The difference is marriage. See,
But
one of the things about my platform is we can only keep scores in marriages. We can't keep scores in relationships, talking, hooking up, living together. Marriages are is what we can count and is real.
mm-hmm.
So
Okay.
I don't think it's a good path though. So guys will date a woman, guys will have fun with it, kick it with, but walk
And
down
that's
the
where the
aisle with one.
confusion comes into play too sometimes because like men will date women like that, and then you got healthcare professionals like me that are out there, and we're looking at people like this, and I'm just confused sometimes. Like to be honest.
Well, dating means having sex without commitments.
Mm-hmm.
They don't get married, so do you want the outcome just because they're dating them?
No.
All right, they're in it for something different. But do you have any kids?
Yeah, I have 3 kids.
How many all by the same father or different fathers?
The oldest, his father died, and then the younger two are by the same man.
Okay. So two. Well, do you want to get married?
At this point, not really.
So what's the issue then? If you don't want to get married,
I mean, it's just after a while of listening to you, and I mean, I was already kind of like thinking that's kind of like the same way you were. At a point, it's like first off, I'm a little too busy to be, if you're a real mom and you're really doing it for real by yourself, you're too busy for a man. You're too busy to even act like you want to date or include anyone into the equation. It should feel a little awkward in the first place to even just throw a man into the equation, especially when you got kids that are up in age. It's a little weird for
but you're
my
36.
right.
Okay, how old is your youngest?
15.
Oh, you started early.
Yeah, I did.
So your
So
kids will be gone. Your kids are by before you're 40 years old. Your last kid will be out of high school.
right.
So what's the rest of life gonna look like for a 40-year woman?
So
You're gonna have your $2.4 million saved up.
so right now I'm just working on my company. It is a base.
But are you going to have your $2.4 million saved by age 65 to retire on?
I don't know. Let's hope.
There's no hope. There's a
Let's hope.
single one. No, there's no hope. See, if you don't have a man,
I mean, I'm
and
not
you
saying
no
that
listen,
that's not what I don't want.
listen, I need you to listen.
Mhm.
This is not about hope. This is about family planning and life. This is adult stuff.
Facts.
If you don't have a man, when you reach 65 in mandatory retirement, you can't work anymore. And you don't have enough money to live on from 65 to 85, you get more expensive as you age. Who's going to pay for you? Social Security won't be there. The government won't be there. Who's going to pay?
I mean, I'm not saying that that's not what I want. Right now, I do not want to.
I
But
don't care
later,
but see, later is too
listen to me.
late.
Listen to me. Later,
The
when I
later
in
is
about
too
5 years
late.
from now, in about 5 years from now, they're not gonna focus
See,
on me.
So Kevin's making a real good point here. It's true. A lot of women, and when it comes to dating, see having a man as an afterthought. And this is what it was specifically speaking about Black women, because we've been taught that they should be independent, and so they're so focused on just preserving their independence that they don't prioritize the value of having a partner. And so it's having a man is a nice to have, but it's not a priority. And I think his point is, how late is too late for you? If you're in your 30s and you're not trying to secure a relationship that's going to be there when you're 65 and ready to retire, because two is better than one, right? So two incomes is better than one income, right? So one income is better than no income. But the point here is that, you're doing yourself a disservice if you're going it alone, and you got to find somebody that you can come to the table with and reason with and deal with on some level. And when you don't prioritize that, you just limit the amount of options you have the later you get, because now, you get older in age, you get more scars from failed relationships, and it becomes harder to find a connection. And by the time you're looking, it's just tougher to land one. And then unfortunately, it just, it creates for a lot more stress and a lot more issues in the later years. So his point is, pause and rethink the way you're going about this, and try to find a way to find somebody you could work with, so that you can secure your future on the back end. But she's clearly not hearing him.
See, that's just okay.
Because I listen to you.
Why do you
no.
Why do you think it works that way? Why do you think you can make these? Why do you think you have that amount of control?
You contradict yourself because you're.
No, I don't know. I just asked you. No, listen. No. I'm talking. No. I ask you, why do you think you can make that decision? And you're telling me I contradict myself. That's not an answer. That's a statement.
So why do I what?
Why do you think you can make? Why do you think you have that much control?
Why wouldn't I? It's my life.
Because you had 3 children. Were you married to either one of the fathers?
No.
Okay.
One died before I could even, and then the other 2, yeah, they're by the same man. But if somebody has issues, you gotta cut it off.
Then why have babies with somebody that got issues? See, marry before you carry.
Sometimes when you're young,
No. See, there's the same shit again right there. I'm young and dumb. See, one of the biggest problems I have, especially with Black women, is you keep excusing yourselves. You give yourself the benefit of the doubt, and then because life gets messed up and stressful, you put it off on being too busy and this and that. And at the end of the day, that sounds. I need you to. Okay, I'm gonna either have the conversation. I'm going to have the conversation with you or over you. Not going to talk through me. That's just not going to happen.
He's got a valid point. The young and dumb excuse is how some women try to excuse the poor decisions they made in their past, even though the mindset doesn't change and they continue to make the same mistake again. Now, when a man who's serious is weighing a potential partner to, bring into his life, that is one of the things he assesses. That's why a woman's past matters to a man, because he's trying to figure out, how did you get here? What decisions did you make? Because what decisions you made then can tell him what your mindset is now. And if your mindset the same now as it was then, it's likely you will make similar decisions in the future that aligns with the mindset you currently have. So a man's constantly trying to gauge, do you have a mindset that shows growth, that shows accountability, that shows that you take responsibility for the decisions you made? Or are you giving yourself an excuse to not acknowledge the mistakes you made and to continue doing things the same exact way? And he has a way of just saying, stop for a second and assess it, right? This mindset of young and dumb is not a valid excuse to continue to make the same decisions, because you can be young and dumb at 30 something when you made the same decision at 20 something. The point here is having children outside of marriage is somewhat of an epidemic, right? It's almost like I'm saying, I don't need a commitment from the other half of the person that I'm choosing to have the children with, solely because I've been taught to believe that I can do it without that person. And that's not a good mindset to go into when we're talking about building a family structure. So his point is, we need to eradicate the mindset and not continue to make the young and dumb excuse as a way to justify the poor behavior or the poor decision.
The reality is this: it doesn't matter what you think about it or I think about it. Somebody's going to have to pay for you once you retire. If you don't have a man, if you don't have it saved, either you going to pay for it, your kids going to pay for it, somebody, because the government ain't going to pay for it. Where's it going to come from?
Okay, we'll say the kids, because I invest in them. And I'm
That's fucked up. That's fucked up.
I'm building them up.
That's fucked up. That's fucked up. That is fucked up. That is fucked up.
You're not going to help your parents?
That is fucked up. It is
you don't
not.
help your parents?
That is fucked. Listen to me and listen to me well, people. This is part of the problem with the black community. This is fucked up. That our black mothers like this think that their kids owe them something.
Mm.
Yeah, you do.
No, they don't. No. This is why most of our children are not born out of a loving, respectful relationship. Most of our kids are born out of a fuck. They're born out of sex.
Oh, mine wasn't.
Okay, they're not born in marriage. There's not a plan. But did you? Okay.
For a year.
Okay, so anyway, a whole year. Then you want to say you're young and dumb and this and that. That means no plan. And this is what I was just talking about earlier today on YouTube.
But
giving yourself the benefit of the doubt.
You can't go from a choice that you made at 17 to 20 to 36 and then go back and be like, oh, well,
you can't. No, you
Did
can't.
that and you did this.
No, you can't. But you are supposed.
I'm raising my children, and I'm laying in my bed, and I'm raising my children. And when I'm finished, then I can focus on them.
And this is the problem. You think this is the problem. They really think they have this. They really think they have this much control. You can't tell them anything. That's what I'm saying. Man, you think you have that kind of, when they're then, I can just plug this in like this, and I'll be young and beautiful. You'll be 41 with 3 kids, and you think a man is going to come in and say, I'll marry you. Sure, I'll marry you. I'll marry you, and then I'll take on all, and then you can take
what
my
responsibility. What responsibility?
All right. So this is the problem. This is what you just seen right now. Is this why I don't give the young and dumb excuse? Because you don't sound like you've learned anything. Because you said, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Man, you don't have that kind of control. Men decide who get married, not you. Men determine who gets married.
So if I decide I don't want to get married, that's not my control?
No, somebody has to decide to marry you first. You can decide when you accept the proposal. No. See, that's what I think. They think they have control they don't have. A man has to propose to you first.
You act like we have to get married. Like
I don't give a shit if you get married. I don't give. No, understand something. Understand something. I don't give a. Well, this is the same. This is the same woman who came on complaining about how strippers get relationships and she doesn't. This is why this is the same person.
I don't say that.
I don't give a man. I bet you do. You got 3 kids. I bet you do. I do. You got the red hair. Exactly. You look like you be fun. But again, don't nobody want to marry you. And at the end of the day, I don't give a shit if you get married or not. I don't give a shit if you. I don't give a shit if you get. I don't give a. I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit. Exactly, you're not. I don't give a shit whether you get married. I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit whether you get married or not. I just hope that the taxpayer don't have to fund you, because if your kid's gonna have to pay for you, or you're gonna be homeless because you ain't gonna have it together.
Why would they? I mean, I definitely am working and I'm doing it.
It doesn't matter because you take more because you are too hard-headed. You are too hard-headed and too stubborn to hear any goddamn thing. This is the modern woman, modern black woman.
Okay. Now this is the point that he makes. As you can see, he's her elder, and she called him for advice or to weigh in on the topic he was having. Doesn't seem like she was receptive to hearing what he had to say. I think she took it personal, and the conversation kind of went off the rails. Kevin Samuels is well-meaning in terms of what he's trying to say to a lot of our young women. It's just that you have to be mindful of the decisions you make. As a man with daughters, young daughters at that, this is good advice for my daughters to hear. You know, you shouldn't think of having children as something to do outside of a marriage, because not to say that the marriage is guaranteed, but at least it says that I'm going to put the structures in place to ensure I'm not the only one responsible for the child, and that I have some level of commitment from the person who's giving me the child to be there to help me raise the child. And the idea that I'm going to do it without them is not good. And a lot of times young ladies are taught to just have the child and they'll figure it out at some point in the future. They'll find a man that they can plug and play to step in and be the child's father before they give any thought to, why am I going to give this man a child in the first place when we're not even in a relationship where there's a deep commitment and an incentive for him to stay and raise a child with me? His point is that mindset is troubling, and unfortunately, it's the prevailing mindset for a lot of young ladies, especially in the Black community. They think it's just okay to have children out of wedlock to a man that they don't plan to keep around, and that somehow makes it okay because at some point, due to how pretty they think they are, they'll eventually find someone who's going to be willing to help them raise a child. And then they may meet someone and then have a child for that kid, for that person as well. And now they got 2 kids, 2 different fathers, but that guy's not going to stick around because he didn't have to marry her either. Then they meet someone else, and then the cycle continues. His point is that's not what's healthy for the child. It's not what's healthy for the community as a whole. And we need to change the mindset. And you see, when he confronted her with that truth, or attempted to, she was not very receptive to receiving it. She got defensive and felt like she had to push back. And I don't think he was personally attacking her. I think he was simply saying, like, someone should have had this conversation with you to emphasize the importance of marriage, not because of just the marriage, but the marriage is symbolic of family, of a united front, of a 2-parent household that helps to ensure that that child can better compete with other kids coming from 2-parent households, because statistics show that kids generally coming out of a 1-parent household tend to do worse than kids coming out of a 2-parent household. So he's saying be proactive in planning to have a child in the proper setting. And unfortunately, I felt like it went off the rails because she got defensive, and now, you know, they're at each other's neck. But let's continue.
Shame, insults, guilt, the need to be right. Too defiant in their fucking foolishness.
Atera is the IT painkiller. Remote monitoring and management, remote access, help desk and ticketing.
This is a woman who with red hair and Cupid doll eyelashes talking about, well, why these men go over here? Because there's not a sliver of paper difference between a Rachet Stripper and a Rachet Nurse. disagreeable by nature. I was young and I made a mistake. I was young and okay. Well, have you learned the maturity anyway? You sound like the same young fool you were before. And after I get these kids out of the house, then I can focus on the men. Why would a man want to focus on your redheaded self? Why would he want to do that? Hey, let me go ahead and come along with you, and then I'll just go ahead and let you take the last 20 plus years of my life so you can be retired. They really believe they have this much control. This is what I talked about the entire day, overestimating. That woman thinks she's the shit. And you're average with 3 kids and a bad attitude. This is why so many men are like, y'all want people to go out and date this, marry this? And women like her, when they're not trying to be impressive for other women online and stand in their truth and their power, they know how jacked up their situation is. That woman knows she's screwed. That woman knows it's over. It's over. She knows it's over because she has been with her entire life. She's seen the men she's dealt with, her kids, and her kids. I want you guys to understand, her kids are going to be her retirement plan. Her kids don't even get to go live their own life. And I'm not saying, and I'm saying that because that's a choice. I'm not saying it because it happened and life happens. Yes, family's supposed to help out family and all that other stuff, but it is fucked up that women are openly saying, I raised my kids, so they need to take care of me when I'm old. No, you're supposed to do your best to do what you can to be agreeable, to work with somebody, to make sure any kind of burden, and it is a burden, you push off to your children is minimal at best. What's supposed to happen, lady, is your grown ass is supposed to leave your children something. You're not supposed to leave them with a goddamn bill.
That's a fact. It's a very good point. What he just said too is that it's true. Too often people aren't planning for their future and they're expecting their children to come in and pick up the slack. So they're working, making sacrifices for their kids. And now they're saying, well, then eventually you're going to be responsible for me. Now, there are some instances where that makes sense. And the child might decide to step in and do that. His point is, don't bet on that. Allow them kids to live their own life, right? Plan so that you can be independent enough, that you put things in order enough, that your kids can just focus on living their lives. Should they decide to come in and help you as you get older, that's good. But it shouldn't be something you expect. And it's true. Too often people end up expecting that. And then they end up imposing on that kid's ability to live their own life because now they feel like they have this obligation to repay the parent who took care of them. And again, there's nothing wrong with the child feeling like they want to do that, but it shouldn't be something that you expect them to do. And I think that's the point that he's making. It's not fair for that to be the case. So
sheer ignorance. Welcome to World Star. Just sheer foolishness. Why can't I find a man? Well, because you're walking around like half a man as it is, I guess.
Okay, just wrapping this whole thing up. Obviously, it got contentious during the video, but I think his bigger point is this. The two things we can control is our attitude and our behavior. And sometimes to be a suitable partner for someone, we got to check our attitude. Having a good can-do attitude is a very infectious thing, and it makes people want to be around you. But when you're combative and not willing to take feedback, it pushes people away. This was a good example of that. Now, hopefully that young lady, she doesn't have a problem finding someone and she's, good. But there's a greater point to look at. Sometimes it's just good advice to just be humble and take feedback. And I think it's hard to hear when, you know, you have to face yourself and the decisions that you made. None of us is perfect. You know, I would recommend we just pray for the people who may be in her situation and just continue to just try to impart the, you know, the word of God in people and help them, you know, renew their mind on certain things. But, you know, we leave it in God's hands. That being said, I thank you guys for joining us for this episode. I try to get a few of these episodes in, sometimes stepping away from political and more serious topics just to talk about something a bit more lighthearted, but also as impactful. Hopefully you got something out of this video. If you're not already a subscribed member of the Intercourse Show, I ask that you like and subscribe by clicking on the button below, and also share, the video with others, just to weigh in on the conversation and to let your voice be heard. Until we speak again, God bless you all and have a blessed day.